Hi, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and once again, it's the Backlog. It's time to talk about Dead Cells again, because I've finally cleared it. Once, which counts. It's what I was going for. My friend who beat it on his own was back in town, and he beat it on my file. Watching him do it and the advice he gave helped me figure out what I needed to do, and between the strategy we came up with, combined with good item and power-up drops, helped me finish it in 2 or 3 tries after his own win. The main thing was range. Before, I was just kinda dropping in on enemies and bashing through them, which does work very well in the first few areas. After that, though, it gets considerably harder, as you'd expect, and if you don't get the right combinations of stun, status effects, and DPS going for you, you won't kill enemies fast enough and they will hit you for pretty big chunks of damage, which is probably obvious in hindsight. The other thing that was big was exploring the areas more. If you get through the areas fast enough, you can unlock bonus rooms, but it typically benefits you more to actually try to see every available part of the current map to find power-ups and weapon drops. Lastly, I just needed to use my sub-weapons more. There was one in particular that put a row of buzzsaws on a section of floor which would just chew through enemy health as they stood or walked over it. Some enemies are particularly troublesome, and since I wasn't rushing anything anymore, an optimal strategy was me to just lay down the saws and stack that damage with either bleeding or burning, and then just stay out of the way for a few seconds and watch them pop. While not all might agree, I found it super satisfying to just stack effects and then see the enemies die without me having to do anything further. There were times I deliberately held back finishing off a baddie just so I could watch the things I set up do it for me. This rarely backfired. It was crazy how long I could go without taking damage as well. There was one point where I had a sub-weapon with an effect of doing extra damage in exchange for me taking double damage. This mattered very little because I closed the whole level with only getting hit once, which it did upset me since I only missed one dodge and that was all I would have needed to get a perfect run. For one stage anyway. It felt like an accomplishment getting through the first third or half of the game without even needing to bother to heal. Even some of the later areas didn't seem all that bad, them feeling much easier in the last run than the first area did in my first. In contrast, the final boss was quite tricky. I fought him twice, barely losing the first time and barely winning the second. Without getting too into the specifics, they were a bit larger than the other bosses that I'd fought up till then, with much larger attacks and less space to move around in, making it a much different fight than I'd experienced up to that point. I beat them after using all of my healing, my one mutation which gave me a partial revive, and even some extra imaginary health, and even then I was only 2 hits, give or take, from losing again. Honestly, I felt like I did better the first time I fought him and lost, leaving me with a very odd lack of accomplishment, but a win's still a win, so I'll take it. It does drive home, though, the fact that I really haven't mastered the game, only scratching the surface and doing the bare minimum to earn a passing grade. End of the day, I had a great time, and if I didn't have such a big stack of games to get through besides this, I would be very content continuing to do more and more and try alternate paths, maybe even to try some of the higher difficulty that Victory did unlock. Highly recommended. I got the WarioWare theme for Tetris 99, so that's another special theme for me. Still need Special Theme 11, the Mario All-Stars one, and Special Theme 14, the Miitopia one though. Damn it, let me trade my tickets for it. That's really all I had to say about that one. And then there was the Nintendo Direct. This was a weird one. Sure, overall I'd say it was pretty great. I'm still hyped for Splatoon 3, and while a 3D Kirby game does make me wary, as the trailer went on, I felt that hesitation give way to genuine interest. I continue to be excited for a Metroid Dread, and while I'm still kind of mulling over the Age of Calamity expansion pass, I think this new trailer has finally sold me. I'm also impressed by Square Enix and Triangle Strategy. I still have no intention of picking it up, mind you, but that they not only put out a demo and took feedback on it, but they actually addressed some of the improvements they're making based on that is really something. I remember when Daemon X Machina put out their trailer, I was super psyched. Then I played the demo, lost most of my interest, and since I never heard whether the issues I had or any others were hammered out by the time of the full release, I never bothered picking it up. Maybe I will when it gets cheap enough, but not now. So I have a lot of respect for Square Enix for their commitment and hard work here. Then there were the announcements for Announcements. Animal Crossing is getting a big update. All we'll tell you is that the Roost is coming back. We'll tell you more later. They also told us that the last Smash Fighter will get a presentation soon, but that's all they're telling us right now. Cool to know, but why not just tell us everything when you're ready, or just make a tweet with a date and time for the presentation rather than tell us that you'll tell us later? Not mad, kind of tilting my head, questioning the order of events. They did a similar thing for Nintendo Switch Online. They announced a new tier to the service that adds N64 and Genesis games to the library you can play. This is cool, but NSO is first and foremost a service to let you play games online, which runs like crap. It feels kind of off to offer more to the secondary service and charging more without improving the main function. And I mean, all NSO is doing to play those games is running an emulator, which many could find for free. On the other hand, it probably does cost money to license games like Banjo-Kazooie and all the Genesis titles that are going to be roped in. I guess it all depends on how much it cost, which they conveniently left out and said they would announce later. An announcement of an announcement again, though given that their NSO trailers always get dislike bombed, maybe saving the full presentation was planned. Anyway, I'll probably shell out some money for it because A, it's another excuse to replay Banjo-Kazooie. 2, I played some of the other games on NSO with a friend, and there are several titles I think he was interested in, just not enough to either dig out or borrow an old console for, and Gamma, Sin and Punishment. Still though, I'd really prefer they just fix the damn online before pulling out extra content, maybe get some actual servers before Splatoon 3 comes out. This almost feels like a distraction. And besides that, I think there was one other weird announcement, but it escapes me for the moment. And that'll do it. I had one other game to talk about, but I'm only about halfway through it, so I think I'll just save it for next week. It's called Poison Control if you're interested, and I probably will have a lot to say about this one. Anyway, thanks for watching. This episode's out a bit later because of the other thing that was announced during the Nintendo Direct that I didn't talk about here getting its own video. That's also why this one is a little bit shorter as well. But hey, overall I put out, my normal output. Anyway, again, thanks for watching. Maybe subscribe if you enjoy this sort of thing, and perhaps I'll see you in the next episode.